Hey, black women. Hey, you're at work and you're alone in a room. Who would you rather walk in right now? You don't know what it is, a white man or a white woman. You're in a conference room alone. You have to be with one or the other. Which one is it going to be? Now, be careful how you feel about this, because how did man feel when we picked bear, okay? All right, women, I just want us all to just be in our proper placement.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Now I want to give credit to the original creators of the clips in this video, and of course thank you guys for always supporting the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that like button, don't forget to subscribe and join the conversation in the comments, because I really want to hear what you have to say about this.
The creator is talking about giving the scenario to black women. Would you rather be in a conference room with a white woman or a white man? And a lot of the consensus is that we would rather be in a room with a white man. And it's because, white men are more blatant. Just like racism in the South is like less tricky than racism in the North. It's still racism. And so for me, I've worked in fashion for 12 years. I went to school with all white women. In college, and I grew up in an all black neighborhood, so that was a huge culture shock. But I will say that I agree. And I have best friends that are white. I have, coworkers that I learned so much from, so many people who I very deeply and intimately appreciate. However, there are so many, even the most people with the well intentions have so many blind spots. And I just think I had to come to the conclusion that I just don't trust white women unless they earn my trust. And I feel like I'm the opposite with black women. And most people, I'm a very trusting person. Maybe that's my naivete. Maybe that's my ADHD. But with white women, there's always a bit of and when I look back at my career and who has fucked with me the most, it could just be proximity, but it's white women or it's people who align with whiteness. My first boss, but it was a different time. I forgive her, I guess. I don't know, but yeah.
White women, have you heard this question being asked by black women? Would they rather be in a boardroom with a white man or a white woman? And they're choosing white man. The creators, Portia, White Woman Whisperer, and a few more have been having this discussion, and it's been kind of controversial. One of their pages, actually, maybe a couple, have gotten demonetized and taken down as a result. But as I'm thinking about it, something really hit me. One of the creators had a video about how white women's tears are dangerous. And this is because, in their point of view and in their explanation, when a white woman cries, it can activate the violence of white men. I've been processing this a lot. As I've been processing it, I remembered and thought about the story of Emmett Till. And when I have heard that story, out of all the people involved, out of all the violence and all the horror, there's one person that has always made my blood run cold, and that is the woman who lied about Emmett. The white woman who claimed that she was in danger or that she was offended or whatever by Emmett. Maybe it's because the violence of the men didn't surprise me or has happened a lot. And the deception of this woman did surprise me and did seem so insidious and so dangerous and so scary. She broke this norm that I feel like we all have, this underlying value of protecting a child. She broke that in order to call into action the violence of her partner. whether she was trying to make him jealous or whatever the theories are. I mean, there's a lot of theories about why she would have done it. Maybe she felt unsafe from him as well. Whatever it was, that has always been the scariest part of that story for me, and the most disgusting part of that story, and the most surreal, just chilling part of that story. So then in a very small way, it makes sense now. That is scarier. That thought of a woman betraying that trust is scarier to me as well. Maybe that's a tiny part of what they're feeling. And so I guess what I'm just saying is processing this, thinking about it, and realizing that I have the same reaction in some small way can help it make sense and not be offensive. Like, these lessons come little by little for me. They have, at least. In grad school, I had a similar lesson where there were 2 Black women in our cohort, in all of our classes. And we had a racism and social justice and cultural class. And one of these women had to actually say, I do not want to be the poster child for my race. I do not want to be the spokesperson. It's too much work. It's too exhausting. And just hearing that was the first time I had heard that concept. And it made sense to me as a religious minority. I also didn't want to be the voice for my religion, you know? And so being able to put it in perspective and not, I guess, just think it through and think, what can I take from this? And how can I learn a lesson from this and be less of a burden on other people and be more of a true advocate and ally, not just in word, has been a growth process for a long time for me. So this is just a new step on that. Hopefully that they have this totally different experience that I will never have, that I can choose to understand, at least choose to digest and make sense of, even if it doesn't resonate right away. Letting it just kind of sit and bounce around in my head has really helped me bring more understanding to it. Letting it just kind of simmer as I listen to more information and not react right away with emotion has been helpful for me. And just taking the time to believe them, that this is actually their take on it, they're not just trying to be mean to us, is super important.
And there are a lot of white women in the comments angry, vitriolic, that she dared pose this question, that the answer dare be men instead of women, because we want to think of ourselves as better, right? I just want to ask you, I want to invite you to this. If you are mad about that question, if you are feeling vitriolic about people saying that white women are doing as much harm as white men, where do you feel that in your body? Where is that coming up for you? If you are angry about this, if you are feeling powerful emotions about that, where are you feeling that? Because that is where you are holding misogyny and racism in your body. And deconstruction is not just a matter of the mind, it's a matter of processing it in your body. That's an invitation to learn about yourself.
I 110%, if given a choice in an office environment between a white man and a white woman, based on my personal experiences, my lived experiences, I would 110% choose a white man. I saw Lisa's video, brilliant. She breaks it down so expertly. So does White Woman Whisperer, who I also saw her video. I've seen both of them. I don't really have to say too much. So what I'm going to do is explain my perspective coming both from the fitness industry and corporate America. I have been in both spaces for the majority of my working career, my professional career, and in every single instance of somebody lying on me, backstabbing me, I just have to be very aware of what's happening around me. It has always been, more often than not, I've had negative experiences with white women in that capacity. Followed by that are non-Black women of color. Very simply put, the vast majority of my working and professional experiences has been in predominantly white spaces. When it comes to white men, they are the devil. I know what I'm going to get from white men. I know the reaction I'm going to get. White women, however, at least in my professional experiences, and I want to make that very clear, in my professional experiences, I've had good relationships with these people. I've worked with them before. We have a good rapport. We are friendly. And then something happens and immediately it is my fault. I'm thrown under the bus. I'm lied on. It is based on those experiences where I, myself, and I know other Black women, we have learned to cover our bases, CC everybody, get everything in writing, get everything documented. A lot of the mental gymnastics we have to go through and survive in workspaces is a direct reaction and results of our experiences with white women. And to close this, I will share one story. The first and last time I was ever called aggressive in a professional working environment. I'll try to keep this to less than a minute. So very long story short, my supervisor, there was me and another woman. She's a white woman. She was an older white woman. Her and I worked on the same team underneath him. When he would leave, when he would go out on leave, he would leave me in charge. And he would leave me in charge because I'm a very type A, detail-oriented person. Again, though, the reason why I'm like that is, I don't like sloppy work, okay? So you ain't gonna get sloppy work from me. But also I am like that because I understand that in any environment, if there's a question of who did this wrong, who didn't do what they were supposed to do, it's gonna come back on me. So I'm a very detail-oriented person. He left me a specific set of instructions to do. I execute them. I come in the next day, my white co-worker, we'll call her Linda. We'll call her Karen. That's the name I remember. Karen went back behind me, messed up the work that I had did. A higher up intercepted the email she was not supposed to send, and it ended up becoming a huge situation. And I only realized the situation it had become because I get an email from that higher up like, Sasha, what is this? What did you do? And you know why I got the email? Because she signed my name to it. And so I'm confused because I'm like, what the heck is going on? I wasn't even at the office at that time. I had left. I had signed off for the day. Our supervisor comes back in and I'm explaining the situation to him. And this woman starts crying. He asked her why she went behind my back and did the work that I had already duplicated and gotten it incorrect and then lied on me, signed my name to something that she messed up. He asked her why she did that. And she lied on me and said, well, I was trying to ask Sasha for help and she wasn't giving me the response that I needed. And I just felt like she was being really aggressive towards me. Excuse me? I spoke to her to let her know that I had taken care of this and I was leaving for the day and she didn't need to do anything after that. And this woman alleges that I was being aggressive towards her. I looked right at her, my supervisor standing right there. I looked her dead in the eyes and I said, I have never before in my life ever been called aggressive. I am not an aggressive person. I'm very direct and I explicitly told you what we were supposed to do and that I handled it. I was not aggressive towards you. I do not appreciate you calling me that. Don't ever call me aggressive again because you don't know the weight of that word when it comes to being a Black woman in this environment. And now my supervisor, he's a white man. So immediately he's like, oh snap, I heard the HR words. This is a hostile environment. So he immediately intervened. Everything got settled. He apologized on her behalf and she got fired about 2 months after that. All of this to say, this is a white woman that I had great conversation with, great communication with. We were on the same team. I'm not thinking anything of it until the moment she messes up and it's time to take accountability. Instead of her taking accountability, what does she do? Throw me under the bus. I tried to keep that under a minute, but I guess it wasn't going to happen. All of this to say that unfortunately, I know I'm not alone here. I don't want to speak for all Black women, but I do know that there are a fair amount of Black women who, if given the option, if they're sitting in a conference room and they're debating whether they want a white man or a white woman to come through that door, I'm choosing a white man. That is just based off my lived experiences.
I think to answer this question, first we have to acknowledge that white women and white men are both dangerous to people of color, just in different ways. White men are going to be more outwardly violent than white women, clearly. And clearly this isn't coming for white women or white men, period. But white women have caused great pain to people of color. Look at Emmett Till, based off a false accusation from a white woman. Somebody commented this, but what happened in Tulsa started off a false accusation from a white woman. It caused a massacre and destruction of the Black Wall Street. Single-handedly, a white woman did that. White women have a history of lying and perpetuating these systems that white men upheld while in power. Look at the ERA, like I mentioned. A white woman and a group of white women single-handedly took down the Equal Rights Amendment that could help all women, including women of color, and they didn't want that. White women were some of the hardest to fight against civil rights because simply they could, knowing that white men would protect them. I don't know.
Bear versus man, I pick the bear. White woman versus white man, who do I pick? So before I address that question, I need white people to realize that Black people have to see white people the same way that women view men. Now, the reason that you're seeing Black women say that they choose to be in an office setting with a white man over a white woman is because that intersection of white femininity means that Black women kind of get the worst of both worlds. You have to deal with the fact that women are often jealous and competitive against each other in professional settings, and then you also have to deal with the dynamics of racism with a white woman and a Black person in the situation. When you have a Black woman and a white woman paired together in a professional setting, the disparity in the power dynamic is a lot less obvious, and it's more messy, and it makes it harder for people to navigate. Whereas when you have a Black woman and a white man in a professional setting, the power difference is really obvious, and you'll usually find that the white man tries to be self-aware and mitigate that. Now, I don't know about like a corporate office setting, but I have found that dealing with doctors, sometimes it's easier for me to navigate stuff with a white man than a white woman. And part of the reason that I have this particular experience is because I'm very well educated, and that's reflected in the way that I speak. And it tends to be kind of intimidating, and it catches people off guard. When I catch a white woman off guard, she tends to get like frazzled and then tries to reassert dominance. When I catch a white man off guard, he gets nervous and tries really hard to not do an accidental racism or an accidental misogyny. Whereas white women, they kind of assume that it's impossible for them to be misogynistic because they're women. And it just, like I said, it's a much messier power dynamic. White women tend to focus on their marginalization as women, and it makes them forget about the power that they hold as white people. So they do not practice self-awareness in the same way that white men often do. Now, of course, there's white men who just, they be white menning, right? The messiness of these power dynamics and how double marginalization affects Black women in a way it doesn't affect white women or Black men is literally why we have the word intersectionality. So for more understanding of this, just Google that.
So this question came up on TikTok. If you're a Black woman alone in a room, would you rather a white man or a white woman walk in? And honestly, a lot of Black women said they'd rather it be a white man. It sounds shocking, but it makes sense. People brought up a white woman, with tears, a white woman crying, because let's keep it real. A white woman crying can literally flip a whole situation on you, even put your life in danger. Meanwhile, with white men, the power dynamic is still there, but you usually know exactly what you're dealing with. There's no pretending, no hidden tears that could get you in trouble. Personally, I get it, right? The history, the workplace drama, even everyday interactions, sometimes it's safer for us to be around the men than the woman. It says a lot about how deep racism and gender dynamics go. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all the original creators. This is strictly for educational purposes and fair use. As usual, I'll see you on my next one.